we're just promoting a sprawl city and very, very poor sustainability.
So, they must think that there's some advantages to moving to the sprawl model.
I would say,
What's in both their heads is all
I don't
there.
hear very many people say, oh, sprawl is so sustainable. Yes, this is a really sustainable model. I don't even know what the argument is for that.
Yeah, I'm just wondering like what they would.
Well, I think it's partly, it's neighborhoods who say, okay, we're a suburban neighborhood. We have lots of single family houses.
Okay.
We just want to keep it that way. We don't want our neighborhood to change. Well, I personally, I'm all for the existing, low density neighborhoods. Let them stay. But along those arterials, where there are no single family houses fronting on Burnett Road, that's not happening. But you ought to be able to say, okay, along the arterial, it's higher density, and then it bleeds off to single family.
And that's just
houses away
easier
from
to,
that.
like to provide like energy and water and
Absolutely.
roads for.
And all the utilities are already there. I mean, it's not like we have to now send them farther and farther and farther into the hill country and consume more and more land. We can use the land we've already consumed and densify those neighborhoods. A great example of that is West Campus. You probably, I'm sure you don't know what West Campus was like, let's
I've heard,
say.
but I haven't seen it. No.
Well, West Campus was a lot of single family houses, and maybe there are like 4 frat boys who, rent this house, and they were not in good condition, most of them, but there was a lot of that in West Campus. And that has, in the last 15 years, substantially been replaced by much higher density housing. That means that now, instead of all of those students living all over the city and trying to get to the campus by congesting traffic, by using fossil fuel for transportation, instead, they're freaking living right there and walking. And it's healthier for them because they're walking. And honestly, they like it. I mean, it's super popular to live in the West Campus and walk
We both
over.
live West Campus. It's a lot. I feel like it's the best option.
Right. I mean, why? It's actually, it makes you a better student. That's pretty much proven. That if you live close to the campus, there are things like if there's a lecture on campus in the evening, of course you just walk over. It's no big deal. If there's a lecture on campus in the evening and you commuted 45 minutes to where you live, you're not going to come back in 45 minutes and go back out 45 minutes to go hear that lecture. Or clubs or sports activities or you name it. People are just more engaged in the university community if they live close by. And also, there is a sense of community in West Campus. Actually, I had lunch with a friend Friday he walks to work through West Campus, and he said it's a huge difference. In every year, there's just a little more of that kind of, urban life.
It's exciting as well. Like I couldn't imagine living anywhere else. Going here.
So that's a sustainable community, and but before that was zoned so that couldn't happen. That was maybe 10, 15 years ago. They rezoned, they upzoned West Campus. Will Wynn was mayor. He was very instrumental in getting that to happen.
Sorry, who was mayor at the time?
Will Wynn.
Will Wynn.
And that was a really positive thing, and good for the university, good for the students, good for sustainability, win, win, win. But that also could happen in other neighborhoods, but there's huge resistance in that neighborhood. It was absolutely landowners, so, and they had investment property, and so they came out great. But the people who live in some of these neighborhoods that
You like actually live there.
yeah, they actually live there, and also there's just kind of, I own this. This is my neighborhood. I own it. Well, I totally respect that. Honestly, I really do respect that. But we were involved in a redesign of an area that was like maybe 8 blocks from a neighborhood, and it was going to go much higher density, and none of the traffic would go through that neighborhood. It was right on I-35, so the traffic was going to go where the arterial is, which is I-35. But it was just, oh, you mean from my backyard, I could see a tall building over there? Oh, no, I wouldn't like that. Come on. That's just not, you should not have the control over the sustainable growth of the city because you don't want to sit in your backyard and see 8 blocks away that there might be a building over there. I just think we got to loosen up and get a little more community minded.
Would you say that a solution to that is just making the buildings look better?
Well, it wasn't what the buildings looked like they
It's just the
objected
fact
to.
that
It was
there's
just
one
that
there.
I'd like to have the illusion that I live,
Of seclusion.
20 miles away from the city and I'm just in this completely not urban environment. But they happen to live near the center of the city. And so my sense of that is, you are so fortunate to live in a suburban single-family house in the center of the city. You should count your blessings. You are so lucky. But you also ought to realize I've got a responsibility in exchange for that luck, that I need to understand that it's a city. I live in a city, and we have to have a reasonable pattern of growth. And sprawl is not a reasonable pattern of growth.
Okay, so would you also argue that higher density housing would make it more affordable for people to live in Austin?
That's a tricky question because right now the most affordable houses, the cheapest houses are on the periphery because they're paying nothing for the land. So they're cheap out there. So you say, okay, intuitively, yeah, sprawl makes more affordable housing. And it is true that, for instance, one of those high-rise buildings downtown, they're built with concrete, they're very high-quality construction. They've got all kinds of safety, fire egress, all those things that require them to be fairly expensive. The dollars per square foot is higher than a stick-built house. So there are some things that intrinsically make that more expensive. But also if you take the real cost, like for the roads, for the utilities, for all those things, if you really factor into that, it is not more expensive. But the way the system works now is that the city or the state builds roads out to these areas and they send power lines and utilities out there, and we're all as taxpayers subsidizing that. So those costs get made invisible. So it just needs to be some more equitable way of us actually seeing what the real costs are.
Yeah. Okay, and one thing that's really cool about Austin is how you're never really far from nature here, which like I'm from Dallas,
Right.
You wouldn't get that.
Right.
Do you think current development threatens that in any way?
So let's say the difference, because before 2004, I lived in a single-family house in a really nice neighborhood that was great. I had 3 heritage live oak trees in my yard. In my bedroom, I had windows on 3 sides, and it was like living in a tree house. It was super soft, green, natural. I moved downtown. I live on the 11th floor of a high-rise building. So I do not have leafy green trees right outside my window. But I have the sky, which is unbelievable how gorgeous the sky is. So I rediscovered how beautiful Texas sky is. So that was an even trade-off. But where I lived over there, I had my little plot of green, my little backyard, my little front yard, all of that. But where I am now, I can walk across one street and I can walk to Barton Springs Pool in 25 minutes. And I'll walk through the hike and bike trail, Lady Bird Lake. It's gorgeous. It's real nature. It's not a little patch of manicured grass and coddled trees. It's water and big cypress trees and deep shade and the whole creek and the springs and anyway, it's, as far as I'm concerned, I'm in way better nature in this high density environment.
Yeah, for
Super
sure.
high density, and then this beautiful park.
All right. Do you know? Okay. Yeah. No, I would agree that it's just way better to separate those two things, and then you get the full experience from both. But do you know anything about efforts in Austin to maintain that sort of, I mean, just that feeling that you're never too far away from nature, like
That's
to connect.
huge in Austin.